You gotta give me one thing. I'm a scary judge of talent.
Adolphus Washington back-to-back plays.
The Detroit Pistons select Luke Kennard from Duke University.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Triple Double Podcast. My name is Corey Albertson of Triple Double Prospects. Jason Morrow is in a producing and a speaking role today. Big day for Jay Morrow. And we've got Zach Fleer, I think his third time on the podcast. Zach, what's going on, man?
Oh, another day in Columbus, Ohio, the best city in the state.
Oh boy. That's what they said last year at the state championships, right?
Last 5 years, and we've only won like 2 state titles since then, but that doesn't matter. We have public schools up here, so.
Got him. Wow. So Zach and Jason obviously are Columbus guys, owner-operators of 270 Hoops that are covering all things Central Ohio.
Morrow's Northern Kentucky guy. We gotta be honest.
Covington Moore. He's a Moore's Covington Catholic guy, but
Go Colonels.
He's also knows his Columbus basketball. So last week we had TJ Petrus on talking about Northeast Ohio high school preview. After we record this, we're going to do a Southwest Ohio preview. So today is the Central Ohio preview, and Zach and Jason are going to jump right into it. And Zach, why don't you start us off? In Columbus basketball, I think more so than other parts of the state, there's a big gap sometimes between Division I and non-Division I. And in Division I, who are some of the teams you're really excited for?
Yeah, so it's kind of the major players from last year. I think the top two, and it's kind of really separated themselves. They played for the regional title last year, and it was an all-time classic. Hilliard Bradley and Pickerington Central, those two seem to be the strongest. It's got great guard play, they got size, they got versatility, and they play great defense. So those are the top two teams. I think they could, eventually rematch again in the regional final. And then Dublin Coffman is probably the third team right now. They got a deep senior class, obviously led by Dom Penn, in the junior class, but they got some stud seniors who can all shoot the ball. They're versatile, really skilled, and pretty deep. And then even, Upper Arlington, they're going to be back again. And I think a team, they're kind of the wild card right now. But Walnut Ridge, they've kind of been down a little bit the last couple of years since that 2016 class graduated. But they got a transfer from Hamilton Township, a kid by the name of Kavion Ross, who's 6'5", athletic, hits the glass really hard, and can play both sides of the ball. He transferred in just like 2 weeks ago. Him paired with Von Cameron Davis and then Keon Magwood in the backcourt. That's a trio that's going to be really interesting. I think they can win the City League championship, and they could be a major player in Division I if they can find some outside shooting. So those are kind of the top 5 teams that I've thought of. I think a team like Westerville South could be someone who can compete. But really, it's those top 3 teams are kind of separated themselves. And then even with Hilliard Bradley and Pick Central, those are the top 2 for sure. And I'm just really excited for the season to get going. But I think when it comes down, late March, I think you could see Pick Central back in the state finals. You could see, Hilliard Bradley back there again. And then Dublin Coffman, they've never made it out of the regional tournament. This could be, the year for them to make that next step if they can find a way to, get over the hump. They've been knocked out by Pick Central in the district tournament, I think 3 or 4 seasons in a row. So I think it's the major players. Once again, OCC is going to dominate this area. And then, like I mentioned, Walnut Ridge could be a team in the City League that makes a run.
Well, you got a lot of turnover from last year. You guys had a really, really good 2018 class, specifically at those Division I schools. Pickerington Central had some talent that they lost. They also effectively lost, even though he's still at the school. Jeremiah Francis, unfortunately, has the injury. And then you look at like all the Pickerington North lost, and they're not considered necessarily one of the front runners. And then you look at Hilliard Bradley and like Pickerington Central. Hilliard Bradley's right up there at the top, but they lost 2 4-year starters, or at least 3-year starters, 4-year rotation guys. So you think that Bradley and Pick Central, despite losing it, still have that type of talent. And then I would think if I'm Dublin Coffman, I got to be thinking with some of those guys gone and returning most of their team. If you're Dublin Coffman, this has got to be your year.
Absolutely. I mean, Coffman really they lost 2 starters last season, but as far as their primary guys, they didn't really lose anything, and I think they even gained from last year. A guy like Luke Bartimus, who really was unknown. I mean, even like 2 months ago, if you asked anybody in the state, Luke Bartimus wasn't a guy that many people knew of. He's blown it up in open gyms this fall, to the point where, Lincoln Memorial came up to watch Derek Van Valera, and then Bartimus just absolutely lit it up in the open gym they were at. And the head coach, Coach Schertz, was like, you know what, I want that kid to come down for a visit. Luke came down the next weekend, blew it up there, and he ended up getting an offer, and he committed to Lincoln Memorial just this past week. So you got a guy like that. You got a guy like Derek Van Valera, who's 6'5", athletic, probably the best perimeter defender in this area, and just a big-time athlete when he's playing at his top level. And you got Dom Penn, who, when he's playing at his top level, he's unbelievable. You got all those guys mixed up, and then they even got some depth, on the bench. A senior like Grant Yeater is a guy who could play Division III basketball possibly. He was one of the better players in our fall league. And then even a junior, Keaton Turner's a guy who played JV last year. He had a great summer when it was kind of rumored that Dom Penn might be leaving. He didn't play with Coffman all summer long. Keaton Turner was a guy that actually ran the show for them and was really impressive this summer. So they got quite a few pieces, and for them, they've really struggled getting over the hump against, those powers like Pick Central, Northland, 5-6 years ago. There's really, I don't think, Bradley and Pick Central are really good, but I don't think they're, as elite as some of the top teams in the area, in the last several years have been. So I think the door is really open for Coffman this year. But even, Bradley, Pick Central, they lost a lot. But they still, guard play wins in March, and that's what they have. Matalako, obviously the point guard of Bradley.
Well, Morrow's a big Bradley guy, and he thinks that Bradley and Pick Central still have some talent.
Well, I think both teams have a lot of talent, but I agree with Zach about Coffman. I think last year about Dublin Coffman is they went toe-to-toe with Pickerington North, and it was a 3 overtime game. It was an absolute slugfest. And a guy like Derek Van Valera really started to blow up into the spotlight in a game like that where he made a couple big plays. I think had the tying layup to send the game to overtime. I think Coffman's a team, like you said, hasn't gotten over the hump, but they definitely have the pieces. And a guy like a lead guard like Dom Penn, he can take you places in March. And I think that they really definitely could take that next step.
Well, it'd be fun to watch when those teams do match up. You got Dom Penn at Coffman, you got Matalako at Hilliard, and then you've got Javon Garcia among some other guards at Central. So those are going to be high level point guard matchups. This will be fun. So let's talk about some of the other divisions then. Division 2 through 4. I know when you sent me some of the teams, Zach, you broke it down by division, but just in the non-Division 1 schools, who do you think is really good this year in your area?
For me, in my opinion, Jason might have a different opinion, but I think Harvest Prep is the best team outside of Division 1. Obviously, they made it to the state Final Four last year, lost to Afrocentric, but they're led by C.J. Anthony, who's had a great summer, had a great fall. One
tough
of the more
kid.
Dominant guards and just a really tough kid. You may find other guards that are quicker, maybe shoot better, but C.J. is a guy that he's just tough as hell, and he's going to lead you to wins. And I think in Division 3, they're obviously the favorite. A lot of teams in that division, had great senior classes last year. Teams like Northmore, Wellington, they're not going to be as good, especially Afrocentric too. So I think Harvest Prep is the top team in Division 3 there, and I think if they were placed in Division 2, they'd probably still be the number 1 team. Columbus South is a program in the last 5 years. Ramon Spears has really done a good job of turning them into a power. They got a really good team coming back. Trayon Watkins and Marcus Johnson are their top 2 guys. They're going to have a lot on their shoulders because they're not as deep as they have been in the last few years. But Division 2 really takes a step back. Last year, Beechcroft and Eastmore were 4 of the top 2 teams in the regular season. They both had monster 2018 classes that are both gone. So I see both those programs taking a step back. So with that, gate opening up, I think Bishop Hartley is going to be a pretty good team in Division 2, obviously led by Morgan Safford. Peyton Collins is another good senior. St. Francis de Sales in that same Central Catholic League. They struggled a little bit last year, but they made a run to the district semifinals. They got a good young team led by senior Kyan Durden, but I really like Desmond Watson, who's one of the better sophomores in the area. And I think a sleeper in Division 2 is Jonathan Alder. They've kind of struggled, years past, getting past those, more athletic teams out of the Columbus area. They got a team this year. They got some quality size. They got about 3 or 4 guys above 6'5", and then they got really good guard play. They got 3 guards. Jacob Koenig, who's a senior, Jackson Izzard, who's a sophomore, and then Jackie Santa Emma, who's a junior. those three guys, they're going to, run the backcourt for them. And I think if they can hit their shots and kind of keep these bigger teams off the glass, that could be a team that maybe wins a district title and makes a surprise run. So it's really good. Division IV, when Harvest Prep, Wellington, and Afrocentric all moved up due to competitive balance, that division is really depleted right now. I don't think we have a team that's capable of making to the state Final Four. But I think Tree of Life and Fisher Catholic are probably the top two, contenders in that division right now. But last year, it was really bad. We had a team, Fairfield Christian was our Division IV district champion, and they were under 500 in the regular season. So that just goes to show
with the competitive balance. Yeah, with competitive balance, I don't think any cities really have Division IV outside of what's the team? Cornerstone Christian up in the Cleveland area is a very good Division IV team, but outside of that, you're gonna run into rural teams at Division IV. Recapping some of the guys you talked about, I saw Columbus South last year in the regional semifinals. They were the Columbus team that comes down to my neck of the woods. They ran into a really good Trotwood team. But,
played them tight for two.
Yeah, played them tight for a half, and then kind of Trotwood is very, very good, and probably have the most talent in Division II. But I like Treon Watkins' game a lot. I like Marcus Johnson's game a lot. They're going to be competitive, and I think if they end up coming down this way again, based on usually that Cincinnati Dayton Division II is as strong, if not maybe even stronger than Division I. I think South will have a chance to win if they come down to that regional.
And I think the way South plays too, they're very capable to win games in March because they're just tough. And they'll kind of slow the pace down a little bit, but they'll get after you and really defend you. And I think that's probably why they kept it so tight with Trotwood.
Off that point, Jason, one thing Spears does too is in his non-conference schedule, he schedules a lot of teams, rural teams that play slower, early in the season and later in the season to kind of give his team a feel for what tournament basketball is going to be like. So for South, I think they could either go. I'm not sure where the other Division II goes. Usually it's Athens, but last year they went up to Toledo. If South, they could either go, either one of the regions. I think they're going to have a chance to compete regardless. But they're going to have to if they go through, Bishop Hartley or DeSales, it's going to be tough in Division II. So I think it's going to be a war.
Well, whoever comes down to Kettering is going to play a city team. And that if you look at the guys that come out of that city, of the Kettering regional, it's going to be Dayton Dunbar, Dayton Thurgood Marshall, Dayton Stivers, I think, is still Division III. I know they were on the fence. Cincinnati Taft, Hughes, Woodward, Aiken. So you're going to play that type of city ball. So those are the teams that South is used to playing day in and day out. So if they make it, it'd be more of a familiar style of play than if somebody like Watterson or Hartley or DeSales makes it, who's used to that kind of Catholic school type of ball.
I think Hartley's a team. They do play that Catholic style ball, but a guy like Morgan Stafford who plays, 100 miles an hour, if they get, if that's a team that goes to Dayton, I think Morgan, that could be a game where he really gets to shine if they're playing up tempo. So it's going to be interesting. Our Division II teams, it's not as loaded as it was last year, but I think we got some pretty good teams at the top end that can maybe compete. But, Division III, I think it's Harvest Prep's division to lose. They should have a, really good chance to get back to the state Final Four if all things go right.
Throughout the whole state, I think they're making guys, scouting guys, media guys earn their money a little more this year. There's not as much of clear favorites, and I think that's been one of the common themes we discussed here. We discussed with TJ with Northeast Ohio, and we're going to do tonight when we talk Cincinnati Dayton. So it's going to be more fun to follow. I mean, you got a little bit of defined pecking order in Division I, maybe your way, but in other places, I think it's really wide open. But one thing, you guys always talk about when you come on this podcast is that you really pride yourselves on following all the programs. It's in Columbus, it's easy to say Northland in the City League and Pickerington Schools and Gahanna in the public league, but you guys follow everyone. So Jason, who are some top some guys that you think are going to have good years that aren't historical top elite high school programs in Columbus?
I think you mentioned Northland, and even in their division, I think a team like Centennial could be pretty good, could be solid. Miles Martinez was an absolute stud in our fall league this year. Centennial's a team that, can really this year with the North Division kind of being a little bit more open than in past years, they could really compete and maybe even take that top spot.
I agree.
Zach, I know you've been, And Zach, I know you've been talking about Westland, from where we went to high school, Central Crossing. It's our arch rival, but I know Zach's been talking about Westland the last couple of weeks. What do you have to say about them, Zach?
I mean, that was the first team. So when I started my career, I covered Westland High School almost by accident, but that was the first team I ever covered. They've really haven't been any good, since that 2012-13 season, but this is probably their best roster they've had since then. They got quite a few returning guys, but they actually got a transfer from the Philadelphia area who's a sophomore. His name's Khalil Kamara. He dunked on some kid after lunch in the gymnasium. It got filmed all the way to Bleacher Report, went viral. That kid, he's 6'2", worth the price of admission. He's kind of a godsend for that program. He's just a kid who's brought a lot of great energy to those guys and, made them more confident. So that could be a team. They could win double-digit games. Going back to Centennial, they have a sophomore named Jalen Gilbert. He was the leading scorer among freshmen in the City League last year. He could be a guy who has a breakout year. Another breakout team could be London out in Madison County. They got two sophomores, Janez Cameron from Lima Senior, transferred in, and then Trey Woodyard, one of the better 2021 guys. Those two guys, I think they could lead that team to greater heights this year. Spoke about Jonathan Arter, that's another one. And then in the OCC, Big One, they're probably the smallest school in the OCC other than Olentangy Berlin, who's brand new. They got a nice senior class that has kind of taken the lumps the last couple of years, but I think they're ready to break out. And in the OCC Capital Division that isn't really good, I think they could, possibly compete and maybe finish second or third in that conference. So those are a couple teams that I thought of, that could be some breakout teams this year.
Well, the last question I want to ask you guys about teams before we move into, maybe who the better players are going to be is Jason put together a list of some of the early season matchups, Central Ohio versus Central Ohio matchups. And, what are some of those games that you think are going to be well attended and you're looking forward to?
I mean, I think a game like Gahanna Lincoln and Pick North is going to be another one. The OCC Ohio is a slugfest every year. And those two teams are kind of going to figure themselves out early in the year. Gahanna with freshman sensation Sean Jones, who's gone to Ty's camp and done all kinds of great things and played in our fall league and played really well. But Pick North is a team that graduated 3 Division I guys last year, and now they're going to have to figure out who they are this year. With Jack Sawyer, an all-world football talent. But the key is with Pick North is going to be how do you move on from having those 3 D1 guys, and they're going to get early season tests with Gahanna. And I think another game, the All-Ohio Classic or whatever, the All-Ohio whatever invitational it is.
The Jerry Watson Showcase.
The Jerry Watson Invitational.
The JLS.
I think the Northland Harvest Prep game will be good too because, you don't get to see a lot of those like D1, D3 matchups or D1, D2 matchups. Not all those teams play each other, but Harvest Prep's going to really get after it. And like CJ Anthony's an absolute stud. I think that'll be a really good game. Kind of see where Northland's at too.
I give credit to the Division I schools that are willing to play the really good Division III schools. You see a lot of people don't want to do that. I'm close with the guys at like Deer Park in Cincinnati or Taft in Cincinnati, and some of the Division I's don't want to necessarily play them in the regular season, and that sucks. So that's good that some of those games are happening in Columbus.
For me, I think an early season matchup I'm really excited for in the City League is Walnut Ridge and South. Coming into the season before it was announced that Kavion Ross was transferred to Walnut Ridge, South was the prohibitive favorite. Now, people are changing course. They think it's Walnut Ridge. I still kind of favor South. I think they got more outside shooting, but that could be a matchup that, could really, tell a story of what the City League is going to be like. And then staying with South, at the Jerry Watson Invitational, South plays Bishop Hartley, which could be a matchup of, possibly a Division II district final. So those are some matchups I'm looking forward to. The OCC, I want to see kind of how that OCC Buckeye Conference shakes out. Last year was, almost anybody's conference. Westfield North ended up winning it, but they lost a lot of talent. Most notably Julius Brown, who, was their best player last year. He's gone now. I think a school like Olentangy Liberty, who, Ben Roderick's back from his knee injury, that's my favorite in the OCC Buckeye, but I want to see how they, match up against, schools like Westfield South, Westfield North, and then Olentangy. So there's quite a few good matches. The OCC is loaded once again. And then CCL, I want to see Bishop Hartley, going against the Sales.
One thing about those CCL games is those are going to be knockdown, drag out fights, and the first team maybe to 35 or 40 will be the winner. I mean, those are those slow paced games, but you learn a lot about those teams early on in the season, and
All right, that's that Catholic school basketball, and that's the theme. So let's move on then. The second half of this, we want to talk about not just the teams, but some of the players. So Central Ohio, let's start with the senior class. I think everybody's pretty defined. We know who the guys are. They're going to go over them. Jeremiah Francis, again, is the top dog. If he's healthy, unfortunately, he's not. Committed to North Carolina, definitely the best point guard in the state of Ohio when healthy. He's not going to play this year. So, Zach, who are the top seniors in Central Ohio?
Yeah, so after Francis, we got some pretty good guards in that class. Josh Corbin from Gahanna, he's committed to Winthrop. Max Martz from Upper Arlington, the wing forward, committed to Penn. Javon Garcia, we mentioned him from Pickerington Central. He's going to Miami, Ohio. I'm a guy that not everyone's high on, but Ohio University's high on. Ben White from Thomas Worthington, the 6'9" center, and then the top guy, in my opinion, in the class. Francis is hurt right now; he'd be number one, but I think the top guy who's healthy is Ben Roderick from Olentangy Liberty. Got several mid-major offers. Ohio State's still looking at him. Xavier's still looking at him. Wisconsin even came in for a visit. That's a kid who he wants to go high major, so if he has another big season last year, he led the whole area in scoring, even outscored Dane Goodwin before he tore his ACL. So Ben Roderick's a guy that, to me, is the number one player in this area, big-time talent, 6'6", really versatile, can, score and defend. So that's a guy I'm really excited about. So he's probably the top guy. But some seniors in that class, Trey Watkins, we talked about him earlier. He could have a big season. I like Jordan McMillan from Westerville South. There's just quite a few talented guys in that class, and I'm really excited to see how it shakes out. But those are the mainly Division I guys that we got in that class.
A couple other guys. Reiterating some of the things you said. Ben Roderick. When you look at high major basketball, he has the physical tools, and some people are less familiar with him, unfortunately, because of the injury. We had Chaz on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Zach, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that one, but we were talking about advantages of early signing period versus late signing period. Ben Roderick's a kid that's making the right move and signing in the spring because he's going to put up huge numbers this year against good competition. And, coaches are really going to flock to see him. Corbin, kid that can score the ball. Max Martz really knows how to play. Penn is a great fit for him. I like the upside of Javon Garcia. I like the upside of the Sam Towns kid from Springfield, transferred back over to Pickerington Central. And then in terms of available guys besides Roderick, Jason, what do you think of like a Morgan Safford and a Ben Fort?
I think Morgan Safford by far was our best player in the fall league this year. And just an unbelievable athlete. Threw down, dunk after dunk after dunk, got a guy on a poster in the last week.
He can make a shot too.
Yeah, and his offensive game, I think his outside game has really improved. I'll be curious to see how he plays this year in that Hartley system that's a little bit slower, but I really like him a lot. And Ben Fort is another skilled wing guy that can really shoot it. Reynoldsburg last year was a district champion, and they kind of relied on him, and then Trey Williams also. But I'll be really curious to see how Ben Fort handles this senior season.
I think Derek Van Blair is another guy. He's uncommitted. He's mainly got Division II offers from like Charleston and Hillsdale. But if he adds, some weight to that frame, and he might. If he goes prep school, that could be a kid who, if he puts on maybe 10 or 15 pounds and blows it up, he could be a guy that goes maybe mid-major. I'm really high on him. I think he can play both sides of the ball. Great defender, and then his upside offensively continues to grow. So that's a guy I'm really high on. And then, some committed guys. Owen Hazelbaker, he's going to West Liberty. You got guys like Bo Myers, out in Logan, he's going to Malone. And, Kyan Durden, he's not committed, but he's one of the uncommitted guys. Another, wing guard type player who, plays with high motor, can score the ball. So this is a pretty good class. It's not as top heavy as others, and doesn't have as much Division I talent, but there's some pretty, high quality, higher Division II guys in this class. So I'm really excited about that. But like I mentioned, those are probably the top unsigned guys in our area.
Yeah, and I'm sure we missed a couple, but I think you hit the big ones. Let's go down a class. 2020, I think one of the themes in Columbus looking at this is point guard play. Dominic Penn, we talked about. Matawaka, we talked about. CJ Anthony, we talked about. Haven't talked about Keen Magwood yet. I'd love if you talked about the kid Javon Mogmer, who's, while he's not a true point guard, can play point guard from Chillicothe. Who are the juniors in Central Ohio that are top players?
Yeah, so this class isn't as deep as others, but like you mentioned, the top guys, C.J. Anthony is really dominated, point guard class. Von Cameron Davis, I think he has the most offers of all guys in that class. Kind of a 6'5" wing forward, power forward. The most productive guy in the class is, I think he's like 100 points away from 1,000 career points already. Had a big-time sophomore season, averaged like 22.5 points last year. Even had 43 points in the game, which tied the Walnut Ridge record for a sophomore, which is pretty crazy. Another guy, two-sport athletes, Keon Magwood's one of them. He's got Division I football offers, one of the best point guards in that class. Luke Lachey, he's the son of Jim Lachey, former Ohio State legend. He's at Grandview Heights, which is one of the better Division III programs. Luke's about 6'6", 6'7", one of the better wing forwards in the class, really big-time athlete. Could probably be a Division I guy if he committed himself to basketball, but he's probably going to play high major football. And then some sleepers in that class. Javon Malmer is one of them. Got a couple, good D2 offers. I really like Paul Burris from Delaware Hayes. He's, kind of a late bloomer, about 6'6". Had a great summer, put on about 15 pounds of muscle, got more mean. That's a guy, I think his upside's incredible. He just has to, that production has to match with the upside that he has there. And then Hunter Shedenhelm is a kid out at Pickerington North, 6'4", can really shoot the ball, but in our fall league, he really showed an ability to put the ball on the floor and score at the rim. So that's a guy, with Pick North losing so much, I think that could be someone that steps up and really shows, kind of the ability that he has.
Right. I mean, Penn and Awako are such skilled guards. They're new age point guards, and that, they can make a shot. They can create, but, they're really guys who can put pressure on the rim as scorers in different ways. So definitely going to be interested to follow them. I mean, they're going to be marked men, but both of them have enough talent on their team that you can't just, double and triple them the whole game. CJ Anthony's obviously going to have a huge, huge year at the Division III level. He's just going to be better than guys. And then I really like the Marcus Johnson kid over at Columbus South. He's versatile. He's athletic, plays pretty hard. If his skill set offensively continues to develop, I think he could have a really, really big year. I know a lot of Division I's are recruiting him. And I want Jason to talk about this. Zach went over kind of the top guys, but there's also some guys that we haven't talked about, some breakout guys, whether they're seniors or juniors, and who are going to be some new names. I know one guy I'm surprised I haven't heard you guys mention yet. I know you guys really, really enjoyed watching in the summer is the point guard, Sean Marks.
Yeah, I really like Sean Marks. I didn't get
last Olentangy what?
Oh, just Olentangy. Just the Olentangy. Yeah, committed to Ohio Dominican. This summer, it was the first time I actually got to see him because just the way the schedule worked out the last couple of years, I hadn't got to see him. But, he plays much above his size. He's an absolute shooter. Can can take over a game with his shooting ability. And you really have to close out on him and get a hand up on him. But I like to go back to Hunter Shedenhelm as another guy that, Zach mentioned a little bit. His his breakout moment last year was Pickerington North was down late to Pick Central in that game. I believe it was it on the road, Zach? Was it at Pick Central?
No, it was at Pick North. But they were down. They only scored like maybe 24 points through like 3.5 quarters at that point, and then he came in and I think he hit like 4 straight threes or something and brought them back.
It just brought him right back in the game. I mean, that's the kind of thing that Pick North is going to need this year if they want to really compete in that high division. And a guy like Hunter, he played on Morgan Safford's fall league team this year and kind of got to play off the ball a little bit, and he really did. He really impressed me.
I saw him at Spiece with was he with Nova kid, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I saw him at Spiece with Nova, and I hadn't seen him before. I'd heard a little bit about him, and I think I was with TJ Petrus, and he had a really good game, made some shots, and has the physical tools. At the minimum, he's going to have his hand selection of some really, really good Division II offers. I can tell you that right now. Any other guys, Zach? I know you sent me a couple other names.
Yeah, so going back to Sean Marks, for all 5'10" white point guards I ever watched, I think he creates separation better than just about any of them.
And 5'10" might be standing on a phone book.
He can score at all 3 levels. I know Dan Evans at ODU was thrilled that he was able to get him. That's a kid that was honestly just pissed off that others in this class, had the offers that he didn't. And he's kind of taking it to everybody in that class. And, he had a huge junior season last year, just lit it up, had a couple 30-point games. But a couple guys, I already mentioned him. One's Luke Bartimus, really jumped off the radar, came out of nowhere this past summer. 6'3", big-time shooter. Obviously, Lincoln Memorial coveted him, so he must be able to play. Another guy that didn't play a whole lot of varsity as a junior last year, but had a great summer and then played well in our fall league with Sami Willoughby from Reynoldsburg. He's about 6'3", 6'4", really good athlete, has a great motor, and really showed an ability to play on the outside that I didn't think he had. He's someone, I think he looks like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I guess that's what they call him at Reynoldsburg. That's a guy kind of blowing up out of nowhere, really. Trey Watkins, again, we mentioned him a couple times already, and then Nikili Elmore at Northland. With everything Northland is losing, he's probably going to be their top guy this year, and I think he could be one of the better players in the City League. That's a senior guard that he's just a warrior. He's a leader, plays both ends, and just has a great attitude, so that's a guy I really like. And, staying with Northland, Mikhail Massey is a sophomore there. He missed his old freshman season, tore his ACL. He's a guy that I think he's ready to step up and become one of the elite players in the City League. And if he has a big sophomore season, he can lead Northland to a City League title and get them back on top. So that's the guy in that.
Is that Lucius's kid?
Yeah,
is that the kid Lucius likes?
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about him.
Tyron Massey is his dad. He played Division I basketball back in the 90s. Mikhail I saw him at the Dayton team camp and then in July. Really impressed me. Has a great motor, can really do everything on the floor, but really loves to rebound, mix it up defensively. And he can guard probably 1 through 5 at the high school level right now. So that's a guy I'm really interested in. And if he can take that next step this season and put Northland on his back, I think that could be a dude that really blows up on the statewide scene.
Well, you started with the sophomores. Let's just hit kind of as together, sophomores and freshmen. I mean, I think when people talk about 2021, the sophomore class in Columbus, people think about Jack Pugh and Jack Sawyer. Talk about them, and then who are some of the other sophomores or freshmen in Columbus that you really like?
Yeah, so, Pugh and Sawyer, they're obviously the two that people, gravitate to. Two just physical two men really, guys that are just going to bully you on the inside, but can actually mix it up and knock down some shots and handle the ball a little bit. Those guys are going to be, Pugh, especially with what Bradley's losing, he's going to step into a bigger role this year. I think he's going to have a great season. Sawyer, obviously, being the number one option. He was already great last year, but I think this year for Pick North, he's going to dominate around the inside. Chance Gross, the kid at Lyndon McKinley. You saw him in the summer court. I know you were pretty
super talented.
Super talented, 6'5", can do everything. He's going to be Lyndon's top guy this year. He could blow it up in the City League. As a kid, I talk to him probably daily. He's really motivated and wants to show people, what he can do. So that's a guy I'm really interested in. Tyrese Huey out of Licking Heights, another sophomore, 6'7", had a great July. His biggest improvement has been his motor. He's just been really tough as of late and has welcomed contact and, wants to mix it up and, bang people around in the post, but he's also able to, stretch it out a little bit, knock down shots. He also played with Morgan Safford in the fall league and, had a great fall league. But in that freshman class, though, I think it starts and ends with Sean Jones from Gahanna. For me, he's the most advanced freshman point guard I've seen probably since maybe Jeremiah Francis, but I think he might be, skill-wise a little better than Jeremiah was at that age. Kid's incredible. He's going to start from day one for Tony Steib and Gahanna. And I think people, you see the highlight tapes, but you got to watch that kid in person just to see how special he is. Probably one of the better passers and ball handlers that I've seen, for any grade level. I think he's a top 5 point guard in this area, regardless of class right now. That's a guy, big-time player. Gahanna has another freshman.
The thing about Sean, though, really is like we really haven't seen him in third or fourth year. We saw him at the intro, and he was playing extremely well and just blowing by guys. But I'm really curious. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how he plays against guys that are a little bit older than him, a little bit bigger than him, because he can really go. But for that Gahanna team, Tony Steib's had some really great guards, and he could definitely be the next one on that list.
I'll tell you what, real quick, off topic. I don't know. Is he a junior this year? Steib's kid?
Yeah, Nate Steib is a junior. He'll probably
he's a tough. He's a tough little son of a bitch, man. I watched him with the Pumas second team,
Yes,
and they beat the Pumas first team. The Paul Burris kid had the points, but the Stibe kid was just a tough kid. I really like that kid. You're gonna have two small guards with him and Sean. Just start playing together. You're gonna be small, but that kid's a good ball player too. You mentioned Pugh. I mean, he's just an intangibles guy. He does so many things, and he's going to do himself favors with college coaches because he's versatile defensively. He's a good athlete. He can just do a lot of things. And he's not the most skilled kid, but he can get enough done for you offensively. Sawyer, I knew he was a good football player from listening to Kurt Stubbs, but I did not know he was like considered the number one player in the country at his position. So he's for real, obviously. Tyrese Hughley, I think if he can get that Nick Ward mentality, he's not Nick Ward level talented, but he's very, very talented. I think he could be a really good player if his motor continues to improve. And then Chance Gross, I like him. A lot of personality, a lot of talent. Be interesting to see what he does. Wyndon McKinley doesn't get the most pub, but I'm sure that kid's going to put some scoring numbers up this year.
Absolutely. And, going back to that freshman class, Gahan has another freshman big man, Josh Whiteside, who's 6'6". He physically reminds me of Nick Ward as a freshman. He's kind of beefy, got some size to him. That's a guy, if he continues to add more to his skill set and his motor, I think he's got a chance to be special. And there's another, he's kind of out of our area, but out in Eastern Ohio, more, Stubbs country. There's a kid at Philo named AJ Clayton, who's 6'6", has oven mitts for hands, really skilled around the basket. That's a guy I think could blow up in that area. Eastern Ohio, they don't pump out a ton of top end talent, but I think that's a guy who could be one of those guys. And in the backcourt, Pick North, they're loaded in the freshman sophomore class. They got two freshmen, Dior Connors and Jerry Saunders, who I think those two could be, elite level players. And Dior's already got a Division I offer from Stony Brook. So Dior Connors and Jerry Saunders are the two guys at our intro event. They tore it up, and then Dior was pretty solid there. And our fall league was part of the championship level team. So those are two guys I'm really interested about back in the sophomore class. Now that I'm thinking about it, Desmond Watson from DeSales, Royal Sibley from Whitehall. You got Garner Wallace from Pickerington Central. A.J. Mergen's probably the top point guard over at Hilliard Bradley. And then a couple guards from Thomas Worthington that are pretty good are Jalen Solinger, Maurice Collins, and Isaac Settles. So the sophomore class is loaded here. The freshman class is looking like it's pretty loaded. I think Central Ohio is probably set up really well going forward.
So it's exciting to hear that you guys have some younger talent again. Obviously, running your preview event in the fall. Was it the intro?
The fall league.
With the freshman.
Oh, yeah, the intro, yeah.
The intro, you guys are a little bit ahead of the curve on identifying the top freshmen, knowing some of the sophomores. So, the seniors and juniors you guys have covered so well. We certainly know them. So, going to be following those guys. So, that was a good rundown of the teams and the players from the Columbus area. Thanks again to 270 Hoops, Zach, Jason, for hopping on the podcast yet again. And make sure anyone listening follows their website, and you're going to get all the best info on Columbus High School basketball. So, Zach, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. That's the Triple Double Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by PlayEasy.com. For players, coaches, or casual athletes looking to book a sports facility, as well as owners and managers of sports facilities, PlayEasy.com is the new one-stop site for streamlined services. If you're looking for a place to practice, play, host your tournament, camp, or other, simply go to PlayEasy.com and create a booking request for your area. Your request will go out to surrounding facilities who will respond with their best offer. Once you receive the offer that best fits your needs, book the facility and you're ready to play. For facility owners and managers, PlayEasy puts the power in your hands to maximize the usage and visibility of your facility. Register your facility for free today at PlayEasy.com. Blazy.com is the booking site built by athletes, coaches, and facility managers, and is proud to help bring you the Triple Double podcast. This podcast is also brought to you by Anago Cleaning Systems. Are you tired of struggling in a dead-end job? If so, Anago Cleaning Systems has what you're looking for, an opportunity to go into business for yourself, but not by yourself. With franchising opportunities available for as little as a $2,500 down payment, purchasing an Anago franchise has never been easier. Once you own your Anago franchise, you're licensed to clean commercial facilities all around the greater Cincinnati, Dayton, or Columbus areas with the support of Anago's sales, quality control, operational, and accounting staff. Call 513-332-0033 today for your opportunity to be your own boss and grow your own commercial cleaning company under the guidance of Anago's proven and successful system. Again, call 513-332-0033 to learn more. With Anago, your future starts today.